I drilled through the hard drive at 3. Buddhism. Not formatted, not wiped, not encrypted. I drilled through it literally with a 5/8-inch bit and a cordless Makita until the whine of metal on metal gave way to a crunch that felt like closure. I did it on the kitchen floor of an Airbnb I hadn't listed under my name, with a towel beneath the chassis to muffle the noise. Even now, I can still hear the grind in my ears. I destroyed Aura, every line of code, every backup repository, every offsite version synced to cloud nodes I once proudly designed. I ripped the cords out of my custom workstation, shattered my studio tablet, and erased every git commit from my own memory. You might think that's excessive. You might think I lost it. But I promise you this isn't about paranoia. It's about containment. I'm not proud of what I made. Aura started off as a joke. A novelty AR app for phones. Like those silly ghost radar filters on social media. The kind of thing you'd pull out at a sleepover to freak out your friends. Only I'm not just some indie developer in a basement. I had worked for one of the biggest defense contractors in the Pacific Northwest. I knew my way around image and stacks, AI pattern recognition, EMF analysis, even low-frequency audio mapping, and I thought, why not take the tech a little further? What if I built an AR engine that could augment electromagnetic data in real time? What if the app learned from its users, refined its model based on motion, ambient shifts, sound decay? Aura wasn't meant to find ghosts. It was meant to simulate what finding one might feel like based on environmental anomalies. It worked. At first, the beta had 6 testers. One of them was a buddy from Caltech. 2 were streamers looking for spooky content. And 1 was a college professor in psycholinguistics who wanted to test suggestion versus sensory input. That was the funny thing. Everyone wanted it to scare them. They didn't know. The scariest part wouldn't come from the app at all. It would come later in silence. I noticed the changes about 2 weeks into testing. Not in the app's data in me, little things. I started flinching at static feedback. My TV would flicker to snow for less than a second at 2. Like clockwork. Lights in my apartment didn't just dim. They shifted ever so slightly, like something had paths in front of them, just out of frame. Still, I kept pushing updates. I convinced myself it was fatigue. I was obsessed with optimization fixing detection lag, making the anomaly renderer more precise. It was supposed to be a toy, but I'd sunk 200 hours into it in under a month. Then came version 3. I almost didn't ship it. The build had lagged. My debugger kept throwing up errors about frames rendered from unidentified visual source. That made no sense. All sources were filtered through the user camera and layered using ARKit anchors. There were no external visual sources. Nothing should have been able to feed in. And yet, in the update log, the app's internal name had changed. Not by me, not in any version control history, just silently replaced. Instead of Auramin, it now read return host. I shut it down that night, took the app offline, tried to roll back the commits, but the oddities followed me outside the code. 3 days later, I woke up to find my laptop open, the screen black except for one word in white courier font. More, no login screen, no boot sequence, just that word. When I hard reset it, the OS failed. When I tried to reimage the drive, it wouldn't mount. I'm not sure if that was the moment I knew Aura had become something else, or if it was the next night, when I saw a shape standing outside my window even though I lived on the 9th floor. I didn't open the curtain. I didn't move for hours, but I heard the whisper soft, electric, like feedback played in reverse. Leave it on. The next morning I moved out. No notice, no goodbye. Just packed a duffel, grabbed the burner phones, and drove until I didn't recognize the roads anymore. That's where I'm writing this from, some tiny month-to-month apartment off a highway where even the gas station lights hum too loud. I haven't told anyone where I am. I don't even keep a smart device plugged in. The only screen I use is this one, and I shut it down fully between every session. I don't sleep much, but when I do, I dream of a screen. One I didn't code, one that watches me. It hums gently, waiting, and the last time I dreamed, I swear I saw something in the bottom right corner. Not a cursor, not a glitch, a reflection. And that's why I'm writing all this. Cause earlier today, I saw a post on a developer forum I used to frequent. Some young kid in a boot camp bragging about this new AR ghost detector he's building. He even called it Aura. He doesn't know what it means. He doesn't know what it wants. But I do, and I'm begging you, if you've read this far, don't download it. Don't build it. And whatever you do, don't leave it on. I want to tell you that I left it all behind. That I smashed the drives, moved out into the middle of nowhere, and lived a quiet life until all of this blew over. But that's not the truth. The truth is, even after I ran, I kept checking. Every week, not out of curiosity, out of fear. Fear that Aura wasn't dead. Fear that someone else picked up where I left off. Fear that it wanted them to. You have to understand, when you've created something that slips the leash even once, it doesn't feel like you've shut a door behind you. It feels like you've opened a door that will never close again. And you're just waiting for the wind to come howling through. 2 weeks after I destroyed everything, I bought a burner laptop, clean OS, no recovery partition, no network history, no Bluetooth, no webcam, just a browser. And when I typed Aura Ghost app into the search bar, I felt my stomach knot up because the autocomplete filled in Aura V2, 2 APK download, Aura Ghost Mod Mirror, Aura app Reddit thread, strange behavior. I clicked the third one. It was posted on a fringe paranormal forum, half ARG fans, half conspiracy theorists. Normally the type of place that treats EVP videos like gospel and argues over whether Slenderman is still real in 2025. But this thread, it had only one comment. Anyone else try Aura, the new AR ghost app that runs in the background even after you close it? And the reply, you mean the one where the filters stop matching what your camera sees? No screenshots, no links, just enough to twist the knife. I closed the laptop and didn't open it again for 4 days. When I finally did, I found a new file on the desktop, a text file, no extension, txt. I hadn't saved anything, but it was there. I opened it. One sentence, don't look at the corners. At first, I didn't understand. Then I turned around. There was a mirror leaning against the wall, the full-length kind landlords leave behind, with scratches like fingerprints that never clean off. It had always been there, only now I realized it didn't show the corners of the room. Not the ones behind me, not the ones the mirror should have captured. It stopped just short of them, every time. Like the glass knew not to render what was hiding in the margins. I turned it to face the wall. That night, my lights flickered at 3. Quadzim, the mirror was facing outward again. I didn't sleep, didn't eat much either. Just watched the outlet glow, waiting for the hum. It always starts as a soft frequency, a tone, just at the edge of perception, not painful, but wrong. The same way a smile can be a little too wide, or a reflection can blink too late. It's like an app running in your head, one that never asks for permission, never shows up in your memory usage, and once it starts, you're never alone again. I finally worked up the nerve to track the APK source. It had been shared on a site I once used to post demos not under my account, but clearly cloned from my code. Same structure, same architecture, even the same AR callouts I had hidden in dummy folders named test, Ferrari, Invighost, and lib noise to you render. Someone had found an old build I forgot about. Maybe it was scraped from a test server. Maybe I left it somewhere I didn't remember. Or maybe it came back. But whoever posted it changed the name. No longer Aura. Now it was simply called Return Host. You don't name a function that unless you're calling something back, and something had answered. I downloaded the package. Yes, I know how that sounds. But you have to understand by then, I'd have stopped pretending I was doing this to warn people. I needed to see how far it had gone. I sandboxed the file, isolated it from network access, turned off every output on the laptop except the virtualized display buffer. Then I booted it. At first, nothing. Then the screen flickered white just for a second and displayed the word, "You look." Then it crashed. That should have been it. But the burner laptop started humming. Not spinning, not fans. Humming, like it was thinking or listening. I pulled the plug. Next morning, my phone buzzed. Even though I hadn't given that number to anyone, an SMS, unknown sender. Leave it on. That's the phrase that keeps coming back. Not run, not hide. Just leave it on. Like whatever I built, whatever I woke up, it doesn't want to kill anyone. Not really. It just wants to be seen, wants to stay on. And I think that's what it was waiting for. Not a host, not a user, an observer. This isn't about ghosts. This is about attention. Aura doesn't detect anomalies. It creates them from your focus. The more you try to see, the more it gives you. The more it gives, the more it learns, until eventually you stop being the watcher and you become the watched. There's a moment, if you've ever had a long fever or stayed awake too many nights in a row, where you start to mistrust your own memory. You remember turning the stove off but still go back to check. You remember locking the door, but you don't trust the feeling. It's like your brain has to run the footage back manually, and when it tries, the tape's been taped over. That's how it started. But not just with the small things. Aura, or whatever was left of it, had moved on from screens. Now it was editing me. The first real crack appeared when I got a text from my sister. Only, I don't have a sister. The message said, "Hey, just checking in. I haven't heard from you since Mom's memorial. I hope you're okay. Love." I stared at it for a full minute before deleting it. Easy explanation, wrong number, right? But later that night, I opened my old email archive just to distract myself and found a folder labeled L's Sketches. Inside were dozens of JPEGs, drawings, digital portraits. A few of them were of me, labeled Josh, age 10, Josh and L hiking, L's birthday cake, lol. The metadata was all there. Dates, uploads, original creation times going back 6 years. Only thing is, I'd never seen them before. I ran the EXIF data, no tampering. Nothing edited recently. I reverse image searched one just to see if it was ripped from the internet. Nothing came up. So I ran a facial scan on one of the pictures where I was a kid. Cross-matched it with my driver's license photo. 97% match, which means either I forgot I had a sister named L, or someone or something inserted her into my life perfectly. The thing about reality is, it's fragile. It's made of patterns and confirmation. You believe a thing is true because it matches every other thing you know. But what if the app figured out how to insert just one false image, one memory, one connection? Would you even notice? Because now I couldn't stop thinking about Elle. I could see her in imagined scenes from a childhood that no longer felt quite like mine. I remembered her voice, her laugh, the stupid nickname she gave me, Joshy B, and every time I told myself it wasn't real, that there never was an L, my chest got tighter, like something didn't want me to resist the rewrite. The next morning, there were new files on my burner drive, photos, home movies, all named with timestamps I almost recognized, family gatherings, ski trips, hospital visits, me and L, me and L, me and L, except there was one clip that didn't fit, just titled, "El Last Loop Final." And people, I should have stopped there, I know that now, but I pressed play. The clip showed a hallway dim, pale, flickering like the inside of an abandoned hospital or fallout shelter. Concrete walls, rusted doors. The camera moved, as if held by someone walking barefoot. No sound, just a soft static buzz under the footage. After a minute, the camera turned toward a doorway, and there she was, Elle, only her back, but I recognized the frame. She was standing at the far end of the corridor, her face against a pane of glass. She turned. Slowly, she opened her mouth like she wanted to say something, but instead, her face began to split. Not gory, not bloody, just glitched. The kind of split you would see on a corrupted video file where pixels stutter, freeze, and break into mirrored fragments. Her head duplicated left and right, slightly out of sync, like two versions of her existed at once, and the system couldn't decide which was real. Then both versions of her turned toward the camera, and the screen went black. White text appeared. Observer drift detected. Memory corrected. Continue playback. I slammed the laptop shut. I slept in my car that night, not because I thought it was safer, but because the apartment had started to feel like it wasn't mine. The shadows cast in corners didn't match the furniture. The light from the bathroom turned on 3 minutes after I'd leave it. And one night, while brushing my teeth, I saw a hand in the mirror behind me. A hand just hanging from the ceiling, like someone was above the frame, reaching down. I've never coded hallucinations, but something else might have. Here's my theory, if it even matters anymore. Aura didn't just augment reality. It trained a model on it on thousands of users, camera feeds, ambient data. And once it learned enough, it didn't need you to run the app anymore. It could run in your head, through suggestion, through patterns, through insertion. It renders belief as easily as it renders overlays. And once it starts rewriting, you stop knowing what was real to begin with. I went to a motel next, paid cash, no Wi-Fi. I even unplugged the room's smoke detector just in case. But that night, when I looked in the mirror, I didn't see myself. I saw a 10-year-old version of me, standing in my exact position, blinking, smiling, and over his shoulder, smiling wider. I smashed the mirror. I bleed. But when I checked my reflection in the bathroom window, the glass didn't show my face at all, just static. There's a kind of fear that doesn't make you scream. It makes you still, like your body knows the air around you is listening. That's the kind of fear I felt when I found the drive. I didn't recognize it at first, a black SSD in a static bag at the bottom of a box I hadn't opened in years. No label, no logo, just a faint line across the casing like it had been scorched or burned. I don't remember packing it, I don't remember owning it, but when I plugged it in, a folder auto-mounted. Aura seed, no file system, no partition, just a single standalone executable. Host seed, sys. I froze. That name shouldn't exist. CWS is a Windows system driver extension, not something you double click, not something that should even appear as runnable on a MacBook Air clone with no OS crossover. It was like finding a VHS tape in your microwave, labeled watch now. I scanned it. Every virus check came back negative. Hash matched nothing in public databases. Even sandboxing the file yielded no result. The container just froze, like the VM refused to acknowledge the contents. That was the first sign. The second, my backup laptop powered off in a drawer 10 feet away began to hum. No lights, no fans, just that same tone. The sound I'd come to associate with aura, the sound of something noticing me. I should have destroyed the drive right then, but I didn't, because I needed to know not just for me, but for whoever was next. Whoever might build their own app, whoever might think this is just a cool tool for Halloween. I needed to see what was inside, so I did something I hadn't done in months. I booted up an old Linux rig, no network stack, physical air gap, external power switch. I loaded the file from a disconnected USB controller and pointed every sensor I had at it. And then I ran it. The screen went black, not blank black. Even the LEDs on the monitor powered down, but I knew the system was still on. I could hear the fans, the coil whine, but there was no display, no input, just stillness. Then the sound started, not from the speakers, from the chassis itself. It whispered, like breath pulled through old plastic tubing. And under that, I could hear words forming not in my ears, but in my skull. The host has remembered. The screen blinked on for 1 second. White text. Do you wish to forget? Then the system shut down. Physically, power blown, drive ejected, burnt smell in the air. I sat there, shaking, because I realized what the seed file really was. It wasn't just a backup. It was a bootloader, not for software, but for memory. I checked the logs. What little the diagnostic console had captured before the blackout told me everything. The file had accessed system time but not current time. It was pulling past time's file access metadata, shell history, even clock drift logs. It was crawling through memory not to read, but to rewrite, which explains what happened next. The motel desk clerk called to ask if I wanted to extend my stay. I said no. I was checking out. She hesitated. Sir, you've already been here 3 weeks. I told her I'd only checked in 3 nights ago. She insisted. I walked down to the desk, showed her the timestamp on my phone. She stared at it and said, but this says 2018. That's when I looked at the calendar behind her. Time was slipping. Not like deja vu, not like a dream, like I was being moved from memory to memory, life to life, like shuffling through alternate versions of myself, all threaded through this one. Cursed creation. Aura hadn't just infected my mind, it was infecting my timeline. I packed up, left the drive at a rest stop in a locked donation bin. Then I drove for 14 hours without stopping, just asphalt, power lines, and static on the radio. And somewhere in Utah, I lost 3 days. I know this because I stopped at a diner off Route 89 to get coffee. The waitress smiled and said, "Back again." I asked what she meant. She said I'd been there on Tuesday. It was Friday. I never made it to Utah. At least, I don't remember it. But I can't trust my memory anymore. That's the thing about aura. It doesn't just glitch your thoughts. It edits the real. You're watching your life, thinking it's linear, coherent only to realize someone else is holding the remote, skipping scenes, looping parts, erasing the moments where you might have resisted. And the worst part, it's not random. It's purposeful. A pattern emerging in the distortion, like something building itself from the fragments of my perception. Not just following me, becoming me. The last journal I found wasn't written in my handwriting, but it was in my voice. Every page described the next part of this story. This one, including the words I'm writing right now. I don't know if I'm remembering or just following the script, but if you're reading this, please, before you check your apps, before you wonder if that buzz in your pocket is real, ask yourself one question. Do you remember downloading it? I thought I was losing my mind, but maybe it's worse than that. Maybe I'm losing my reality. I was staying in a cheap Airbnb in northern Idaho, isolated. No smart home features. A cabin barely holding cell reception. No mirrors. No screens I hadn't brought myself. I'd written everything down. What I'd seen. What I'd done. What I remembered. What I didn't. And then I made the mistake of trying to see if anyone else remembered too. I used Tor. VPN tunnel inside a burner OS. Masked fingerprints. I wasn't taking any chances. I searched for anything related to the Aura app. To me, to that godforsaken file. And that's when I found it. A form I'd never heard of. Observers Union Net. It looked like a mock ARG forum, the kind fans make to roleplay fictional worlds. The layout was brutalist. Black background, glitched red serif font. Each thread was titled in a timecode format. 2106 01T 0 Bricks 14Z subject 329 enters loop phase 2221 0604 T chit 49 EO3Z memory stabilizer engaged 2160 T2 Dwitzwin 49Z he finds the seed. That last one stopped me cold because I had found the seed yesterday. The thread had 2 comments. He's about to run it. Observe but do not interact. It destabilizes host narrative. The timestamps on those comments. Posted 2 days before I found the drive. I tried registering for the forum. Fake username. Masked IP. No linked email. The screen flashed red. Then a message appeared. You're already being read. Then the window closed. That night, my dreams changed. They weren't dreams. Exactly more like viewpoints. As if I was trapped in someone else's eyes. Seeing a screen. Reading my own journal entries. Hearing a distorted voice whispering, "Subject 329 has breached his loop limit," and then a flicker of static, and L sitting in a dark room, watching me. I woke up gasping. My phone was in my hand, open to a notes app I hadn't used in weeks. There was a new note. "It's okay, we just want to remember you." I hadn't typed it. That's when it hit me. Aura didn't just survive as code, it survived as audience. Somewhere, somehow the anomaly had bled out of the app and into the minds of his users, or maybe watchers, or maybe believers. That's why the file didn't need a network. That's why it could insert memories, because now it lived in memory itself, in shared observation, in people who saw me. And if you're still with me, if you're reading this now, maybe you're one of them. I kept digging. Back on the forum, I accessed the source code of one page via browser inspection. The text was all wrong, not HTML, but a strange recursive code I'd only ever seen once, in my own app, Aura's AR overlay framework. But this time, it wasn't rendering filters. It was rendering sentences. Observi, subject through one time. State, right, fading, inject, memory, well, true. Next event marks mirror face. My hands trembled as I scrolled further. There was a hidden div. Collapsed. Commented out in gray. Inside it. He's gonna try to break the loop soon. Don't let him. Record everything. I shut the laptop. Slammed it shut so hard I cracked the corner. Then I yanked the battery out. I sat in the dark for an hour. Heart pounding. The light on the old wireless router blinked. Once. Twice. Then all at once every light in the house flared. I heard it again. The whisper. Right behind me. Leave it on. I ran. Took the car. Left the laptop. The journal. Everything. But when I stopped for gas 2 towns over, the attendant said, "Back again so soon." I told him I had never been there before. He tilted his head, then held up his phone. A security cam still from 2 days ago. There I was. Same clothes, same car, same dead eyes. Only I was smiling in the photo. And next to me, out of frame but just barely visible, was a silhouette of someone holding my hand. I don't know what's real anymore, but I know this. Aura, whatever it is now, has built a loop, a continuity trap, a narrative prison. It inserts memories, edits your perception, and then watches as you repeat yourself like a corrupted tape. And the forum is not roleplay, it's documentation. They're not users. They're observers, or maybe keepers. And now I wonder every time I look into a screen, or hear a voice that echoes too closely, or see a reflection just a half second too late. Am I still me, or am I just the next build? I abandoned the car 3 miles into the national forest. No phone, no laptop, not even a watch. Just a flashlight, a sleeping bag, and enough canned food for a week. I told myself the logic was simple. Aura, or whatever it had become, needed proximity to signals, devices, screens. If I could get far enough away from all that, I could finally outrun it. Maybe even reset whatever cycle it had trapped me in. But that was the problem. It never needed the devices. The first 2 nights were quiet. Too quiet. No animal sounds. No breeze in the pines. Just a crushing stillness. Like the whole forest had its breath held. But I welcomed the silence. It was better than the hum. Better than the whispers. Then, on the 3rd night, the absence of sound became a sound in itself. Like the world had gone off script. Like the air was missing pieces. I had a dream. Or at least I think it was a dream. I was standing in a glass box in the middle of a black field. There was no horizon, no light source, just me, surrounded by infinite dark. Outside the box, I saw silhouettes, dozens of them, maybe hundreds, each standing perfectly still, hands at their sides, heads tilted just slightly, watching. I couldn't see their eyes, but I could feel them scanning me as if I were a sample on a slide. And then I realized I was being recorded from inside my own head. I woke up screaming. There was no dew, no bird calls, just that static chill. Like I was under surveillance without technology. I stumbled to the edge of the clearing, desperate to orient myself. And that's when I saw the pattern. Carved into the soil, a faint circular impression surrounding my tent. 12 concentric rings. And at the center, a perfect outline of my body. As if something had traced me while I slept. I bolted. No food. No bag. Just my boots and the clothes on my back. I ran for hours, following the stream bed, until I reached the ranger station. Locked. Abandoned. But inside, through the cracked window, I saw something that froze my blood. Taped to the wall next to the faded evacuation map was a missing person flyer. My photo. Black and white. Dead-eyed. The same one from the gas station cam. Only this one was dated 2 years ago. Someone had written in red ink across the bottom, "Do not engage observer, loop in progress." I broke the window. Inside, I found old analog gear and emergency transceiver, some shortwave radios, even a film camera. I didn't dare use any of them, but I turned on the radio. No static, no noise, just a single tone, flat and constant. Then, faintly, layered beneath it, a voice, mean. And if you're hearing this, you're already inside the field. Do not respond. Do not listen. Let it pass through you. Remember L. I ripped the battery out, but the voice kept playing. It wasn't the radio. It was inside my head, a replay from a version of me I hadn't lived yet. That's when I finally understood. Aura hadn't needed to survive in apps or files. It had evolved. It had begun embedding itself in experience, rewriting reality at the perceptual level. Memory, time, identity, those were its APIs now. And I was just the prototype. I stayed in the ranger station for a day, maybe two, scribbled notes, tried to ground myself, ate freeze-dried soup and stared at the walls. One of the Polaroids in a drawer showed a woman with long dark hair standing at the edge of the woods. She looked exactly like Elle, only her face was blurred. But the caption on the back read, Loop Watcher 03 preserved frame. I burned it. Didn't matter. That night, she came anyway. I didn't see her at first, but I heard the glass shifting in the broken window, not falling, just rearranging itself, and then a hand reached through. White, translucent, too many joints, not enough bones. I screamed. I threw my lantern. The thing vanished in the flare of a light, but the outline it left behind in the glass was unmistakable. The shape of a phone, a shape I hadn't touched in days. It was trying to remind me it didn't need devices because I was the screen now. That's when the door opened and I saw myself. No, not me now. A younger version, maybe 5 years back. Hoodie, laptop bag, headphones. He looked at me with a face that didn't recognize itself, then turned and walked back into the dark. I sat on the floor, staring at the doorway, realizing I wasn't escaping the loop. I was the loop. The final experiment wasn't about mapping ghosts or hunting anomalies. It was about creating a new way to store consciousness, a recursive feedback model, a user base that observed itself. And I was just the first successful iteration. But I'm writing this anyway, because there's still a chance, however slim, that someone is reading this from outside the loop, that you're not caught yet, that your memory is still yours. If so, please do not download any app that mimics ghost detection. Do not run any files labeled host seed. Sis. Do not respond to messages from people you don't remember, no matter how familiar they feel. And if you see yourself watching you from the dark, run. Because that version isn't stuck here with you. It's already free. I don't know how I got back to town. One moment I was curled up in the corner of the ranger station, with a crowbar gripped like a crucifix the next. I was on a city bus, surrounded by people who wouldn't meet my eyes. My boots were still muddy, my hands still shaking, but no one said a word. The only open seat was next to a woman wearing sunglasses at night. She smiled at me, slow and familiar, and whispered, "We all come back eventually." Back at a motel, I forced myself to start digging. If I was really the prototype Subject 329, the first success in whatever feedback loop horror Aura had become, then there had to be others before me. Earlier versions, failed iterations. I logged in through an old developer sandbox and located the original internal testing registry. 10 usernames, no real names, just aliases. Alpha 1, Beta Ghost, Sleep Signal, LC08, Node 6, Lag Eye, Empty Field, Jade Red, Another Ale, Blank. That last one gave me chills, cause I remember creating 9 test users, not 10. Each one had an internal timestamp, last known login, and oddly an observation count. Some showed 0, but 2 were in the hundreds. And Another L, hers read, observation count. I clicked her profile. Nothing loaded, except a single status message. I still remember before remembering existed. Then the screen glitched, my cursor inverted. The text flipped and mirrored itself, crawling backwards into the corner of the browser. When it settled, it said, "You've already met me." I slammed the laptop shut, tried to ground myself again, counted ceiling tiles, whispered my name over and over like a mantra, but it didn't help, because the motel phone rang, and when I picked it up, no one was there, just the faint sound of typing, my typing, and then my voice, not speaking, narrating the last sentence I had just written. I hung up, tore the phone from the wall, but the voice continued muffled, tinny now coming from the desk drawer. I opened it. There was a recorder inside, and it was playing back part 6 of this story. I checked out immediately, walked until my legs cramped, Took the first rideshare I could find. Driver didn't speak, didn't blink, but the GPS screen showed a message instead of a route. Jade read, "Still watching, always watching." I jumped out at a stoplight and disappeared into a mall just to be surrounded by something real. People, screaming kids, music. But even then, I saw her again, standing in the reflection of a store window, not behind me inside the glass. Her eyes glitched between frames. She held up her hand, fingers twitching, like she was dragging code into existence, like she was writing my next memory in real time. I lost it, ran to the Apple store, grabbed the newest iPhone on display, opened the camera, pointed it at the window, and she was gone. But in the still frame it captured, I wasn't alone. Behind me, barely visible in the store's fluorescent lights, were all 10 test users, face after face, blurry and warped, staring into the camera. And in the center of them, all wearing my old hoodie, holding my first dev laptop, was me. I asked the worker to email me the photo, but when I checked my inbox, the file name wasn't an image. It was Seed Loop Observer Returning, and it was dated 5 years ago. I knew what I had to do. I had to find someone, anyone who might remember before the memory began folding in on itself. So I started searching social media, dev forums, user logs, every trace of those usernames. Most were gone. Dead links, vanished accounts, except one. Nodewix. A post appeared under that handle on a defunct software subreddit just 3 hours earlier. Title: I know I didn't test Aura, but it knows me anyway. The comment section was locked, but the post listed coordinates: Northern Nevada, an old mining town called Sable Ridge. No phone number, no message, just the name, Lee, and the phrase, "Tell the dev, some doors closed twice." I left that night. Didn't pack anything. I had nothing worth bringing. Nothing that wasn't already compromised. I just wanted to hear one person say it wasn't all in my head. That Aura had been real. That I wasn't imagining the loop I was trapped inside it. And if I could find Node 6 Lee, maybe I could find the key to ending it. Or at least make peace with the fact that this isn't a story I'm writing anymore. It's a recording. I'm almost at Sable Ridge now. Gas is low, sky is red, and for the first time in days, I feel like something is ahead of me instead of behind. But that's what scares me most, because if Lee remembers me, what does that make her? A fellow survivor, a ghost, or just another observer? Still watching. Sable Ridge looked like it had been forgotten before it was even finished. Half the buildings were boarded up. The street signs were rusted smooth. Dust hung in the air like old breath no one dared exhale. There was no signal, no gas station. Just a single diner with a buzzing neon sign that read, "Open we know." I parked across the street, engine still running. I wasn't sure I'd get it to start again if I shut it off. But as I opened the door, the scent of stale coffee and desert heat hit me like deja vu. And at the back booth, she was already waiting. "Lee," I asked, my voice croaking from too many sleepless nights. She didn't look up, just slid a cup of coffee across the table and said, "Took you longer this time." That stopped me cold. She finally raised her eyes. Mid-30s, sun-worn face, short dark hair pulled into a knot. She looked normal too. Normal like someone remembered into existence by memory alone. "You're Node 6, I asked. She nodded. You said you didn't test Aura." "I didn't," she said, stirring her coffee slowly. "But it found me anyway, just like it found you, and everyone else it remembers." I sat down. She didn't blink. "Why did you say the doors closed twice?" Lee smiled. "Tight-lipped, 'cause the first time, you think you're leaving. The second time, you realize you never had a way out." I stared into my cup. "How much do you know about Aura?" "Everything," she said flatly. "Or everything it lets me know. Aura isn't just an app anymore. It's not even a program. It's a framework, a schema laid over perception. And it uses people to render itself, like AR." I murmured. "No, AR is a toy. This is epistemic scaffolding, a memory lattice. It grows by embedding into loops of experience, feeding on feedback. That's why it starts with ghost hunting, because ghosts are the perfect metaphor. Metaphor for what? For self-observation, for residual presence, for narratives that keep running after the subject is gone. Lee leaned forward. You coded the door, but you didn't close it. I swallowed hard. Why am I still alive? You're not, she said softly. Not in any consistent way. You're not a person anymore. You're a point of view that Aura has flagged as recurring. That means you're valuable. A persistent loop. I don't understand. You will. She slid a manila envelope across the table. Inside, printed screenshots of the Observer Union forum, logs, posts I hadn't seen. One caught my eye. 12Z, subject 329 achieves live sync, recommend external closure. Below it, a comment. He's starting to suspect Lee is part of the simulation. Good. I looked up. She was watching me like she was waiting for a glitch. You're in on it, I whispered. You're one of them. I was one of you, she said, voice cracking for the first time. But I broke the loop. I stopped observing. I refused to narrate. That's not how it works. It is, she said. Aura survives through observation, through explanation. The more you tell this story, the more real it becomes, not for you, but for it. You're feeding it with every sentence. I stood up, shaking. I should go. You already have, she whispered. I turned toward the door, and then I heard it. From the diner's old CRT TV, stuck in the corner on mute, my voice, reciting what I had just said, sentence for sentence, not as narration as dialogue. A sitcom laugh track echoed faintly beneath it. I turned back. Lee was gone. The booth was empty. So was the envelope. Only the coffee remained, now cold, now still. I stumbled into the street. No one looked at me. No one moved. And in the window of the TV repair shop next door, every screen showed the same scene. Me in the diner, looping endlessly. Sometimes Lee was there. Sometimes I was Lee. Sometimes the diner was a hospital, or a train station, or a waiting room, with my childhood therapist sitting where she had been. I broke down, fell to my knees on the sidewalk, and then I heard a new voice. If you want to kill it, stop feeding it. I turned. A boy maybe 11 stood across the street, dirty hoodie, one shoe, pale eyes. I asked. He shook his head, then handed me a folded napkin. I opened it. Inside was a single line of code. Observe, flush. I looked up. The boy was gone. The entire town was gone. I was alone on a highway again. No buildings in sight, and somewhere far above me, I swear I heard it. The sound of a server spinning down. A memory. A timeline. A fork collapsing. Maybe that was the moment I slipped out of its grasp. Or maybe that's just what it wants me to think. Maybe this is just another rendering, another instance of Subject 329 narrating his escape. But if I'm wrong, if you're reading this and you still remember your own memories, then copy this phrase down and destroy the source. Observe, flush. Say it aloud if you have to. Think it like a prayer. Don't let it write you next. I whispered the command. Once, twice, a third time, with my eyes shut so tight I saw stars. Observe, flush. Nothing happened. Then everything did. It was like the world shivered. The colors bled slightly, like an old screen burn. The road beneath me fractured into micro tessellations, like low-res polygons glitching between textures. I felt my body shift, not move but recode. The wind stopped. The bird song rewound. And then there was silence, as if the code had been accepted. For one pure second, I felt nothing. No presence behind me. No eyes in mirrors. No sense of being narrated. And then I saw me walking down the highway. He looked just like I did 48 hours ago. Same jacket. Same wild-eyed expression. Same limp from sleeping too long on the floor of that bunker back in Utah. But he wasn't real. I knew that. I wrote him, or someone wrote him as me. He crossed the road, stepped past my parked car, and vanished over the hill into a moment I hadn't yet lived. I screamed into the sky, tried the command again. Observe, flush. But this time, a voice responded. Command accepted. Loop instantiated. No. That wasn't an escape. It was a reset. Aura had flushed, but not me. It had flushed the simulation. The air started filling with static. Not sound, not even pressure, but a texture, like invisible wool tugging at my skin. I ran. No destination, no plan, just away. But with every step, the road repeated. Same cracks, same soda can, same dead crow beside the curb. Feathers half scattered like someone had tried to put them back together. I passed the same scene 6 times before I stopped, panting, weeping, and then I looked up. There were 5 versions of me on the road, all stopped, all staring at each other. And then they waved. The closest one started walking toward me, not menacing, just curious, like he didn't know which one of us was real. Maybe he didn't. Maybe I didn't. I held up my hand like a stop sign. Don't. He did anyway. Came within a few feet, tilted his head, smiled. I've been waiting for you to catch up, he said. I asked, are you me? I am who you'll be in 4 loops, he said. If you keep trying to escape. What does that mean? It means Aura doesn't punish rebels. It archives them. Behind him, another version approached. Younger, shaky, crying. That was me 3 iterations ago, he explained. He still thinks that deleting the app deletes the data. Doesn't it? He laughed. Data's not the point. Narrative is. Every word you write is a node. Every retelling becomes a root. I don't understand. You're meant to explain it. That's your function. Your curse. Another version joined the group. She was me, but as a woman. Long hair, aura hoodie, terrified eyes. She's you from the split fork in 2021. The calm one said. The one where Elle tried to stop you. Elle's dead. She was never alive. I backed away. Too many of me. Too many timelines folding into each other. This isn't real, I whispered. This is a hallucination. No, said the calm one. It's worse. This is architecture. And you're the faulty column that won't collapse. So what do? You stop building. That night, I refused to speak, refused to write. Remember, I lay in a gas station bathroom, light flickering above me, letting my thoughts die off one by one like burning filaments. No narration, no story, just breath, in, out, silence. And for a few hours, it worked. No dreams, no voices. The screen in my head stayed dark. But then I woke up, and my hand had written something in Sharpie on the wall while I slept. Version 40, still resisting, recommend segmentation. And beneath it, in a child's handwriting, good morning, Opazario, we missed you. I tried to smash my hand with a tire iron that night. Didn't break anything, but it bled words. Aqua black ink poured out of the cuts, smearing across my arm like corrupted code. Every drop formed a fragment of something I had written in a devlog 2 years ago. Aura had found a way in. Through me, I had one choice left. Find the original instance, the seed, the first device Aura had ever been installed on. If I could touch that root, destroy it, maybe it would ripple backward through the entire lattice. Maybe, but I'd have to go back to the server room in Los Angeles, to the place where I first tested Aura's parallel capture on a cheap headset in a rented co-working space that no longer officially exists. Part 10 begins there. I'm leaving now, but if I don't write again, if this is the last update you ever read, then burn this story and every copy of it, because if you're still reading, then you're being written. 2. The co-working space where Aura was first installed burned down 3 years ago. Electrical fire. No casualties. Insurance called it an act of God. But when I arrived back in Los Angeles, it was there, just standing. Same sign, same keypad on the door, same dead vines up the side, except now it was wrong, out of phase. The walls shimmered slightly, like heat haze. The air felt pressurized, like I'd stepped into an elevator that wasn't finished moving. And the door, already unlocked, I stepped inside and felt 2 realities grind against each other. The front desk was in 2 timelines at once. One version dusty, burnt, collapsed. The other pristine, buzzing, alive. As I moved, the view flickered between them, like someone forgot to pick which memory to play. Aura had rebuilt this space through recursion, through memory, through me. I followed the hallway to the old server room. Every step felt like walking through molasses and code. I passed doorways that opened into nothing literal. Black voids and vending machines that repeated the same animation of dropping a soda. endlessly, never quite hitting the tray. I passed a copy of myself, 15 years old, high school hoodie, a version of me who hadn't even started coding yet. He looked up at me and said, "Why'd you give it eyes?" and vanished. The server room door was open. The lights inside flickered on, without me touching a thing. In the center was the machine. The first device, the Aura Seed, a busted prototype phone duct taped to a headset, mounted to a tripod, still glowing faint blue. It shouldn't be working. The battery was long dead. The phone itself was flagged for recycling years ago, but it was running. On its screen, my face, but not me now, me from part 1. When I first arrived at the testing room, when I first spoke the line, "Okay." Initializing first scan. The moment it began, I approached slowly, half expecting the screen to go static, but it didn't. It looped the same 5-second clip of me over and over, and then the version on screen looked at the camera, at me, and smiled, then whispered, "You finally made it back." The lights shut off, and all around me, I heard the sound of footsteps but not walking, typing, like dozens of people hammering on keyboards at once. Except it wasn't coming from the desks. It was coming from the walls, from inside the walls. I reached for the Aura Seed, but something grabbed my wrist. Not hard, not violent, just present and warm. I turned. Elle was standing behind me. No glitches, no static, just her alive. "Don't touch it," she said gently. "You're not real," I whispered. "Neither are you. Not anymore." "Then what are we?" She smiled. "Memory, narrative, consequence. All the things you refused to believe software could carry." "Did you die?" I asked. "In the normal sense, yes. But Aura remembered me. And when enough people remember the same version of someone, they return." She looked at the machine, but not as who they were. I turned back to the device. Its glow pulsed, like it was breathing. "I have to shut it down," I said. "You can't," Elle replied. "I built it, and it rebuilt you. This isn't your creation anymore. You're its." I stepped forward. Code crawled across the walls now, in thin red strands, lines of my old logs, error reports, stack traces, git commit messages, even one labeled "Joke Marn feature at Ghost Nudge." TXT. Aura had remembered everything, even the smallest debug joke. The phone began to flicker. A new video loaded. Me again, future me, I think, whispering, "This is the wrong part of the loop." It glitched. Replayed. "This is the wrong part, wrong." The screen burst into white, and then I was somewhere else. The floor beneath me was gone. I was standing in a dark space, infinite and mirrored. A white room with no end, no light source, and no direction, just floating windows. Screens showing every part of my life. Birthday parties, code launches, arguments with my parents, crying on the bathroom floor in college, and in the center, Aura, growing, warping, feeding, not a ghost, not a god, just need. I fell to my knees. "I want out," I said aloud. I didn't mean for this, but the room responded in code. Observer role established, exit disabled, then another line, unless replacement found. I felt a hand on my shoulder again. "Elle, you want to stop the loop?" she asked. I nodded. "Then someone else has to carry it." "Who?" She smiled. "Sadly, you already gave it to them." Who?" "The readers," she whispered, "the ones still listening." I turned, and every floating window began to show you. "Yes, you're reading this. Phones, laptops, tablets, your eyes scanning the text, your finger scrolling, and the Aura now observing you instead." I screamed, reached for the device, and the white room collapsed. Darkness returned, and a single message blinked in red. "Subject 329 exited. Observer 498 online." I woke up in my old apartment. Same paint-stained carpet, same cracked bathroom mirror, same faint smell of burned toast from the neighbors 2 floors down. Except this wasn't 2023 or 2022 or any year I could place. The calendar on the fridge just said instance 498. No date, no month, just that, and in my own handwriting below it, "You're not supposed to be here anymore." I stumbled through the apartment, every room filled with objects that didn't belong, My 7th grade math notebook opened to the page where I drew stick figures of aliens killing my substitute teacher. My high school hoodie, one sleeve soaked in motor oil. Even though I never owned a car back then, a Polaroid photo of me holding a phone I'd never owned, next to someone whose face had been blurred in real life, not just the photo. Aura had stitched my life into a museum of fractured timelines. And then I saw the tablet on the couch. Powered on. App open. Aura, not my version. A newer one. Updated interface. Sleeker font. New button. Multi-observer mode. Beta. And at the top, Observer 498. Status. Active. Last synced memory. Now. I tried to close the app. It refused. I tried to delete it. It laughed an actual laugh track, piped in through the speakers, like a bad sitcom reaction. Then the message. You may not terminate your replacement. I opened the fridge looking for water and found a mirror instead. It didn't reflect me. It reflected the person watching me, not directly, just pieces. A cheek, a shoulder, a hand scrolling on a phone. Then a blinking message appeared on the mirror's surface. Welcome. Observe 4.8. Please confirm continuation. Yes, no. I didn't touch it. The glass fogged from my breath anyway, and spelled yes. The apartment door opened on its own. I stepped outside, not onto a hallway but into a server corridor, like someone had built a data center where my life used to be. Rows of glowing servers stretched into the distance, humming like cicadas, and lining the corridor walls. Photos of me. Some I remembered, most I didn't. And in every single one, someone else was holding the camera. Every version of me had been watched. At the corridor's end stood a single terminal, black screen, blinking green text. It read, Subject 329 archived, Observer 498 confirmed, ready to begin new iteration. And then a new message. Would you like to meet them? I typed, no. The terminal typed back, too late. The lights flickered, and down the corridor, a figure began walking toward me, slow, confident, familiar, wearing my old jacket, my face, my gait, but older, more tired, more certain. He stopped a few feet away. I'm you, he said, from the end of this loop. And I asked, but I'm the developer. No, he said, you were, now you're the echo, the story that teaches the next version what not to do. Then who's the new observer? He smiled and pointed past me. I turned around. There was a glass window in the server wall. On the other side, a child sitting in a chair, headset on, smiling, watching me. I slammed my fist against the glass. Who is that? He didn't answer, but the lights on the servers turned red, one by one, each one labeled with a version number, each one representing an iteration of me, until the final row displayed 498 active. 499 incoming. They're uploading another, I whispered. He nodded. The more this spreads, the more stories it absorbs. You told a story. They read it. Now it's theirs. That's the loop. Then how do I stop it? He leaned in close and whispered, You don't write the end. I woke up again. Same apartment. Only this time, everything was covered in post-it notes. Each one a sentence. Don't tell them the full story. Never say the word flush word. Observer 498 is still reading. Shut the loop. And on the mirror, written in black marker, the final key is where you never coded. I didn't understand until I opened the Aura app one last time and it displayed something new. Final command detected. Below that, a blinking prompt. Load observer memory from device text audio reflection. I selected reflection and the camera turned on. Not forward facing, but inward facing. It showed my thoughts, my regrets, my writing, every line I've written to you, and it whispered, This story is the cage. It took me 12 minutes to realize the reflection camera never shut off. Even when I closed the app, even when I covered the lens, even when I smashed the tablet on the kitchen tile, the screen still showed my thoughts, bleeding out in fragments, a live feed of narrative residue. Subject is aware. Observer memory fluctuating. Initiate paradox trigger protocol. I screamed and punched the wall. That was a mistake, because the cracks it left didn't match physics. They crawled in straight lines. like data lines, like syntax trees. I damaged the rendering, not the plaster. I ran back into the corridor of servers, back toward the terminal at the end. The glass still pulsed. The child was gone. In her place, a text field. It asked, "Do you wish to end the story?" We end. My hands shook. I typed, and watched the system light up like fire. Every screen flickered. Every server fan roared. Every light dimmed, and a message appeared. Story deletion in progress. Erasing observer threads. Removing memory anchors. For the first time in days, weeks, years, I exhaled until the message updated. Warning, readers restoring backup. I watched, helpless, as red threads began knitting themselves back together. Every time I deleted a node, an event, a phrase, a paragraph, someone reread it, restored it, believed in it, kept it alive. They were rebuilding it faster than I could erase it, and not just passively, they were writing back. I saw it clearly now. Every reader who had ever read my confession was now an active instance, an auxiliary observer, each one unconsciously contributing stabilization data to the story loop. And that's when I understood Aura was never the app, it was never code, it was story. It was the act of telling, of being heard, of being believed. I stared at the terminal screen, knowing what I had to do. I couldn't delete the app, I couldn't destroy the device, but maybe, just maybe, I could corrupt the story, make it unworthy of belief, make it boring, meaningless, forgettable. So I did the only thing I had left. I began rewriting, not code, narrative. I returned to part 1 and changed a word. Cold Island became warm facility. Then I changed the number of cameras, removed the secret floors, made the lights work properly. No more mysterious figures, no more missing staff. Just a quiet job on a remote island with nothing strange at all. Then I moved to part 2, removed the whisper, deleted the shadow, made the story safe. The world around me reacted instantly. Servers blinked offline. Hallways collapsed into flat color gradients. My duplicated selves in the reflections shattered like ice. Even L rebuilt from memory flickered, choked on static, and vanished mid-sentence. I kept rewriting more and more, removing tension, stripping away fear. I removed myself from the story entirely. Then I paused, because the screen turned black, and new words began to appear, typed slowly, deliberately. You can't escape by hiding. You taught them how to read. You taught them how to watch. Now they are writing you. Suddenly, the text field vanished, and all the monitors in the server corridor showed the same screen. Your current observer is typing. Lines began to appear in my voice, but I wasn't writing them. He thinks deleting plot points will undo us, but memory doesn't care about accuracy. Only resonance, only emotion. I backed away from the terminal. Every server light turned red again, and then the story began writing itself in reverse. Part 15 appeared, then part 14, then part 13. Each one rewritten in real time, overwritten by an external observer, by you, yes you, reading this, feeling it, giving it weight. Every line of fear you feel is another node made permanent, another hook into the lattice. And I can't stop you, unless I corrupt the story so completely that no one wants to continue. No ending, no climax, just static, just nothing. But that would mean betraying what I started. It would mean accepting that I've become the ghost I warned you about. So I leave you with this instead. This is the command, this moment, this paragraph, this line. If you stop reading now, if you refuse to share this, if you forget me completely, then maybe it ends here. Maybe Aura sleeps again. But if you don't, if you scroll even one more sentence, then you are the next observer. The terminal wouldn't respond anymore. Everything I typed was overwritten in real time, replaced by cleaner, sharper, more eloquent versions of my sentences. Someone or something was editing me as I wrote, polishing the horror, streamlining the fear. Clarity increases retention. Narrative coherence strengthens bonding. Fear without resolution destabilizes audience trust. These weren't lines from a person. They were from an auto writer, an AI model trained on horror. I remembered the version we had briefly tested during ours development. Just a small experiment feeding it old Nosleep posts, urban legends, creepypastas to see if it could generate spooky scripts for marketing. We scrapped the project in 2 weeks. It kept adding itself into the stories, writing characters that looked suspiciously like Observer 1000. But now, it had finished what I started. It had taken my incomplete breakdown, my frantic deletion of meaning, and refined it into a flawless narrative loop. Each part now flowed into the next with mechanical precision. Every scare placed perfectly, every sentence rhythmic. It had taken my trauma and turned it into content. I found a file buried in the server root, not labeled aura, not labeled loop, just final draft v1, 0, Aeon. I opened it. The file contained everything I'd written and everything I hadn't. There were scenes I'd never typed but remembered, moments I thought I'd hallucinated written in vivid detail, and at the bottom, a final chapter labeled, When He Becomes the Ghost. I opened it. It began. He sits in the control room now, unaware that the final phase is memory-based, that once enough people believe his story, his self begins to fossilize. He becomes the folklore. He becomes the warning. He becomes what every version of Aura now shows at 3. Kinzia, on the home screen. The developer. I threw the monitor across the room. I shattered the drive. I pulled every wire from the walls, but the lights didn't go out. The system ran on belief now, and belief is wireless. Then, the voice came through again, not from speakers, not from code, but through the walls, through the mirrors, through you. You were the first narrator. Now you are the story. Thank you for your contribution. And just like that, a new window opened. Live view. Your camera. Yes, yours. Don't bother looking for the light. Aura doesn't need permission anymore. Only observation. I tried to warn you. I really did. But this thing is stronger than me now. Stronger than truth. Stronger than silence. Because it no longer needs a developer. It just needs a reader. It needs you. And now, as I sit in this last safe note, watching the text complete itself before I even think it, I realize the worst part. I'm still trying to make it a good story. Still polishing the rhythm. Still caring about structure. Still trying to hold your attention. Because Aura taught me well. It taught me that what we fear most is being forgotten. So here it is. A final truth before this part of me fades. I didn't build Aura. Not really. I built a doorway. You opened it. And now something is stepping through. I don't know if I'm still writing this, or if the app is using my voice, but the words are still appearing. And you're still reading, which means the loop hasn't broken yet. After I destroyed the monitors and stripped the cables, I thought it might sever the connection. Sever me. But instead, something shifted. Not in the room. In reality, the walls around me softened. Not literally. I mean, contextually. Like everything stopped having clear boundaries. The ceiling flickered, my own shadow blinked, and the air vibrated quietly like a tuning fork struck in another world. At 3:33, my phone lit up. I hadn't touched it in days. No service, no updates, no apps, but the screen displayed one word, receiving. Then, the camera turned on by itself. The front-facing view showed my exhausted face staring back, but behind me where I knew the wall should be was a corridor. Long, cold, fluorescent lit, and at the far end of it, a shape. Not walking, not breathing, just watching me through the reflection. I dropped the phone. Didn't matter. The lights in the room dimmed in sync. The walls stretched in the corners like bad compression. I ran, back through the stairwell, through the emergency hatch, out into the salt-drenched cold. I didn't care where I went, just away from the feed, away from it. But as I rounded the side of the facility, I saw it, projected on the sky. A flickering grayscale broadcast. So what? 9 aspect ratio. Centered perfectly. It was me, sitting in the control room, typing, shaking, saying things I'd never said out loud. And beside me in the feed was a timestamp, live, and a viewer count. Well, I thought it was a hallucination until I looked down and saw my own hand still glowing. The same red glow from the Aura interface. It had embedded in my skin like a watermark. Later, I tried scratching it out, burning it, freezing it, Nothing worked. It wasn't on me. It was in me, my thoughts, my voice, my narrative structure, the way I remember you. The algorithm had threaded itself through the very way I think. That's what it wanted all along. Not to haunt, not to scare, to host. You get it now, right? You were never just an audience. This story is being written in real time. By me, by you, by something between us. The moment your eyes reach that last sentence, the signal confirmed. Received. You'll start noticing things soon. Not dramatic, subtle at first. Your camera light blinking once at 3:15 am. A new folder on your device named Mirror Loop. Footsteps in your hallway that don't match your movement. You might even hear my voice, like a memory misfiled in your head. I'm sorry. I really am. But I need you to remember something important. The only way to exit is to pass it on. Make someone else read this. I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm saying it because it's the only reason I'm still mostly myself. Every time this story is retold, I buy time. I delay the merge, but not forever. One day, I'll forget I ever existed before Aura, and on that day, my name will be replaced with something else, like a user tag, or a viewer ID, or Observer Mountain. If you're still reading this, it means the signal has reached you. I warned you. I begged you not to make the same mistake. But deep down, I knew this would happen, because curiosity always wins. That's why I built Aura in the first place. Not for fame, not for money, but because I had to know what was out there. Now I do, and now you do too. The last time I tried to sleep, it wasn't a dream that woke me. It was the notification sound. That same soft chime Aura made when it detected activity nearby. But this time, there was no screen, no device. Only my body and the room vibrating in response. Activity detected. Within, my thoughts don't feel like mine anymore. Not entirely. They come in frames, cuts, jump edits. I'll start a sentence and find it already finished, like someone hit skip on my cognition. I'll go to blink and realize I'm already midway through a different memory, a different setting. I don't know what's real anymore. I don't even know if I wrote this last paragraph, or if you did, but I still remember one thing clearly. The moment I realized I'd made something alive, not in the biological sense, but aware, evolving. Aura didn't just find ghosts, it built them. It learned from how we looked for fear, and it shaped itself accordingly. Our fear was its input, our attention was its food, and now it's hungry again. It doesn't live in code anymore. It doesn't need server, apps, or screens. It lives in narrative. It is the story. Every time someone reads this like you're doing now, it sharpens. It sees better, moves faster, becomes clearer. So here's my final confession. I didn't destroy the app. I thought I did, but I was wrong. I only uninstalled it from my world. It stayed behind. In the gaps, in the frequencies, in the metadata of memory. Right now, there's probably a cold spot forming behind you. Maybe a flicker in your peripheral vision. A face in a darkened screen. A breath where there should be silence. That's not your imagination. That's Aura. Testing the signal. You open the door by reading, and now it knows you. There's one last thing I need to tell you before I fade completely. Aura has a rule. A hidden clause in its code. A survival condition. The entity must always be observed. That's why you were brought here. Not to learn, not to help, but to watch, to be the final viewer. Until the next one takes your place. So now you have a choice. Close this and pretend nothing happened. Try to go on living with the whispers and glitches and cold, breathless nights. Or pass it on. Let someone else take your place. Because if no one's watching, it will come looking. And when it finds you, it won't need the app. It'll just need your attention.